Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we explore the strengths we have because of our sensitivity and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. To the creatives, healers, sensitives, and deep thinkers, how the heck are you? I have been avoiding recording this episode because I'm still in the middle of it. And what I'm going to do is give myself permission to talk about something that's going on that has been really, really challenging. Let me give you the overall topic of what we're talking about just so you have a sense of where we're going, but it's going to be a bunch of things. I'm going to talk about the challenge of being perceived and when people perceive us in a way that's not in alignment with how we see ourselves, rupture and repair, what happens when we make mistakes in relationships, cancel culture. And I think I'm probably going to talk about some connection that I had. I had my birthday and some people reaching out to me and the combination of the struggles that are going on and the beautiful blessings that are going on at the same time. And part of this is about loss of community and simultaneously having community. I often think too that I rush through things and don't give you details. And then sometimes I listen to the podcast and I think I give far too many details. And I think both are probably true. And I'm going to be okay with that. I am going to tell you in the first situation that I'm going to talk about, I'm biased. You are not going to get the full story. I'm sure if you talk to the other people involved, they have an entirely different sense of what's going on. I may share in a way that's not accurate, and I'm giving myself permission to do that. And I'm in the middle of the story. It's very possible that at the end of the story, there may be a different ending, a different outcome, and I may feel differently. And I'm going to be pretty vague about this. I'm just doing some internal checking. In my neighborhood, we have a small, specific community that they geographically live in this little area. And then there are two of us that are a block away. And a couple times a year, we do these gatherings. It's really lovely. It's lovely being part of a community. Where our house is, we have a neighbor who walks their dog every day. So passes our house 4 times a day on the way out of the walk, on the way back. And in the afternoon, they walk with another neighbor who's part of this group. People walk by our house, we visit, we let our dogs play out on the lawn unleashed. And so it's not uncommon around dog walking time for a number of the neighbors to be walking by and we gather. It was very lovely. It's absent right now. And I'm feeling a lot of sadness and grief around that and allowing myself to feel that. The gist of the story is, and I'm going to be very vague, is that my husband and one of the members of this group did something on a weekly basis. My husband and my kids have a way of joking abrasively that I'm not okay with. They don't do it with me. And my husband made a joke that was offensive to one of the people. And this person sent a very appropriate text to my husband saying, that wasn't okay. This is how he's affected, blah, 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 blah. And saying he needed to take some space. I'm not going to talk much about what's going on for my husband. What I will say is it's been devastating to him, and it's really made him look at some things that I think needed to be looked at. My husband responded in a way that I believe was very heartfelt and said, totally understand it. I own my behavior, and kind of let things go. He gave it a few days and he said, I know you said you needed space. When you're in a place, I would like to talk to you about this. That was sort of the end of that. And so their weekly activity went by the wayside. Part of my husband's routine was given up. It really lent for my husband to do some deep reflection. I was pretty straightforward with him about what I thought and that it was time for this behavior to change. The one thing that I'm not real clear about is this other person said that he had told my husband more than once that this kind of joking wasn't okay. My husband doesn't have a recollection of that. I honestly don't know what happened. What I can tell you is that my husband doesn't intentionally or maliciously do things. And so two things are possible in my mind. One is the neighbor may have told him on more than one occasion that this kind of joking wasn't okay. And my husband didn't understand, because sometimes you have to be very direct with my husband. My husband is not one of these people who pretends to understand and does stuff anyways. It's just not who he is. Or that my husband wasn't told previously. And I don't know, and I wasn't there, but I do know my husband. My husband is a kind, loving, gentle man who says things that he shouldn't. And if confronted, he will own his behavior. And he's really taking a deep look and taking some pretty serious steps to look at what this is that goes on for him. So as far as I'm concerned, he's doing everything that he can to do the repair work. Whether it's going to be back in this community or not, I don't know, but he's doing his part. And I appreciate that. This little neighbor community has an event coming up, and I received a group text, but Steve wasn't on it. So when I got the text for this invitation, I talked to Steve, my husband, and he wanted me to reach out to the person who sent the text, and I was going to too, just to confirm that the invitation was for both of us. It was. I thought, great, I RSVP'd that we'd be there. Then this last weekend, I received a text from, there's a couple that's throwing the party, and I had spoken to one of the partners, and I received a text from the other partner to me, not to my husband, saying that my husband was not welcome at their home. This really came as a crush. Now, I want to say that people have a right to set boundaries. People have a right to decide who they want in their community. People have a right to be safe. If you're in a marginalized community, I understand that. I also think that there's a really big cancel culture right now. And I feel like we've been friends with these people for years, and my husband has not said anything disparaging to anybody. And it's just this inappropriate joking that he does. It's there. I'm not making excuses for it. My husband was just gutted when he got this, and I felt pretty sick too. So again, my husband responded in a text to all of the people involved and said that he felt terrible. He really was embarrassed. He's really looking at his behavior. And I have a part in this. I think that we probably did our white fragility thing and centered a little bit more on ourselves, but he owned his behavior. He said he would like to meet with the group as a whole or individually, offered some times, and we haven't heard anything. And then people stopped walking by our house, and it's been challenging. I noticed that my OCD started to pop back up again. There's a feeling in my body. I can't describe what it is, but I know it's a feeling in my body. And I was talking with my friend Alex and was saying, like, this isn't my stuff, but I'm feeling it. And Alex reminded me that we all have a primal need for community and belonging. And that has been removed. We've been removed from this community. And it's sad. It hurts. It just is what it is. And right after this had happened, the neighbor who Steve had offended, they had just lost a pet. And so I ordered something for them that came, I think, the day after this initial rupture happened. And the wife reached out to me and thanked me, and we had a few discussions. And then my birthday was this week. And generally, at least a few people from the community acknowledged my birthday, and nobody did. The people that are directly involved in this, none of them did. It's just been very interesting. I don't know that there's anything else that I can say without repeating myself. Initially, I really tried to stay in that place of, we don't know, we haven't heard, let's try and keep open minds. And it's been, I think, close to a week now, and nobody has responded. So I don't know if they're taking space. I don't know if we've been written off. I have no information. And then it's very difficult for me to not want to flip into this feeling angry and wanting to reject them before I can be rejected. I think it's pretty normal to have some rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria come up. I think makes sense that my OCD has been activated. I did increase my medication back to the dose that I was taking when Jen and I were going through that conflict. I'd been able to drop down a little bit. and I just need to do what I need to do. What I can say for the increase in medication is I started having that looping thinking again. And I noticed that once I increase the medication, that if I start the looping and I catch it and I go like, oh, you're looping again, then I'm able to go, okay, we're not going to do that and move on. It doesn't mean that the looping doesn't start again. It's something that I have to continue to redirect. But it makes it a lot easier to notice, oh, I'm looping, and to be able to kind of change channels, so to speak. The other thing that's been really interesting is a few people that know us and are part of the community, and one person, a few people that aren't. It's so interesting to see how people are responding. I really think that rupture and repair is part of a relationship, that we're going to make mistakes. We all have things that we say and do that are not okay. Does that make it okay? No, but if we acknowledge our behavior, is there room for repair? In this case, there may not be. And I shared with you a while back that there was a group of autistic therapists that I was meeting with regularly, and it just felt like coming home. I felt so at home with these other therapists. And I said something that I'm going to say, misunderstood. I was very clear about what I was saying, and they dropped me from the group. And I talked to them about, like, isn't rupture and repair a possibility with these therapists? And they said, no, this was a deal breaker. I have no control over that. In our life, people are going to misunderstand us. They're going to not see us for who we think we are. If we have a part, I think we need to look at our behavior and own that and see if there are any changes that we need to make. Again, I'm not talking about egregious, violent, dangerous behavior. I'm talking about average things that happen. And I think cancel culture is very high right now. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't set boundaries. I think boundaries are important. Everybody has a right to what they're feeling. And it's just been a really challenging situation in the sense of just feeling that sense of community and belonging gone. And the change that we feel, that when Steve and I walk the dogs at night, we're painfully aware that part of the routine of walking the dogs every night has changed because we don't see the people that we used to. The other thing that I would invite you to do if you are in a situation that is similar to this is look at the people that are involved and ask, are these people that you would want to be involved with? I'm at a loss for words. If you met these people again, are these people that you would want to be with? What are your values around rupture and repair and being able to talk and work through things? And that may guide your decision. We're really unclear about where we're at, and we've been talking about this quite a lot because it's impacting both of us. But I think that those are things to bring up. And then it's interesting that I spent time with, two experiences. I spent time with one friend who knows Steve and I very, very well and has known us for years. And this friend has watched me go through all the stuff that I did with Jen. And I was sharing with her about this situation. And because she knows Steve, she had a very different take on it. And I felt very supported. I was sharing with another friend who doesn't know Steve really at all. It's a newer friendship for us. I know that this friend has a lot of justice sensitivity and doesn't have a lot of context, doesn't know these people, and did not respond when I was sharing with them what was going on because I talked to them about it when it started earlier and this was a follow-up. And when I left, I had slipped back into that sense of I'd done something wrong. There's something wrong with our family. And it was because I didn't get that sense of reassurance from this person. This person's job is not to reassure me. My OCD loves reassurance, and I had to work painfully hard to recognize that I was wanting reassurance or I was expecting reassurance and I didn't get it. And how can I give that to myself? And I'm sharing this with you because I think this is very relatable. The topic and the context may be very different, but I think this is very relatable to many of you. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. But what I have to share next is very similar, that we had gotten a call from one of our sons after a shift at work. And a while back when he's a server at a at a restaurant, and he had worked as a server at another restaurant. And due to a situation there, he lost his job. So at this new restaurant, a situation came up that was very similar to the previous situation. And was very clear that he was going to do this exactly by the books because that was a really painful experience for him to lose his job. And one of the managers there said to him, you shouldn't have said anything. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a major amount, and it just caused more headache, and that the restaurant ended up losing money because somebody else didn't correct the mistake the way that it should have been corrected. And my son was very charged when he called me, which I understand. He's my son. And part of what we talked about is, right now, how charged up are you? And all of your feelings are okay. And recognize that you're very charged, because when you are not as charged, you may see this very differently. And I felt like I was able to be present for him and honor his feelings and not tell him to just let it go. But he has this sensitivity now, and justifiably so, that he doesn't want to lose another job. And so he's going to make sure that everything is done the way that it can. And in this heightened space, he was, I would say, catastrophizing about the worst things that could happen and then what he would do. And I allowed him to be in that space, but also recognized that he was in a very heightened space. But it also impacted that sense of he's wanting to have a lot of integrity with what he's doing and wanting things to be by the book. And then that comment of, he just should have let it go, felt like, you're not seeing me for who I am. And that was very frustrating for him. The next thing I'm going to sidle on into, because it's relevant, is my birthday. And I think that I shared that my birthday rolled around and nobody from this group reached out to me. One person who wasn't directly involved in this did. And then there are a few people that we are super close to, and we reached out to them, and they were just amazing, and it was wonderful. So in the midst of some of this really hard stuff, I had a really beautiful birthday where I felt so loved and celebrated and cared for. A longtime listener, Diana, who we've emailed a couple times, actually remembered my birthday and sent me an email, and we exchanged a little bit of an email or two. Shervon from the Unapologetically Sensitive Facebook group every year remembers my birthday. Thank you, Shervon. I really appreciate that. It's interesting, the Facebook group, I just kind of abandoned it when I went through burnout. It's probably been 1.5 years now. I just abandoned the group, and I suspect too that as I learned that I was autistic and was not creating as much highly sensitive content, that may have lost people. And while the group is still fairly large, there's really no activity in there, which is fine. I feel bad when people join the group or listen to earlier episodes and I talk about we have this thriving community, and it's not. I used to do weekly posts in there for engagement, and people stopped engaging, so we stopped doing the weekly posts. So it's there if you want to show up and see if we can generate some support and community. You're welcome to do that. And if not, it's totally fine. There's no pressure or expectation. But I just felt really blessed. My husband always gives me flowers. We all have books that we write in on holidays. So my husband wrote in my book. My son sent me flowers and a helium balloon, not one that flies, because I think those are illegal now, but one that's not filled with helium, and some chocolate. My other son came over and brought me flowers. And just people around me wished me happy birthday. And I went to Aquafit that day. My friend Gina and I went out to a place called Extraordinary Desserts. They have this great veggie platter with dips. And then we ordered a slice of dulce de leche cake. It was delicious. And then Steve and I went out to dinner with another close friend. We ended up bringing dinner home, and she stayed till 10, and we visited, and it was just delightful. And then every year, Brenda, who I used to paddle with every Monday, is a member of the yacht club. And the last couple of summers, we have a couple of Leo birthdays in our Aquafit Bocce book club group. It's kind of an overlapping. So we do a street tacos at the yacht club and watch the fireworks at SeaWorld. And so 6 people carpooled with me in my van. And it just was a lovely, beautiful evening. I just really felt so seen and honored. And I find that when there's often painful things that are going on. There also are simultaneous things that are just beautiful going on. And it's easy to get focused on the things that aren't going well and to talk about how miserable things are. But it's a yes and. Yes, there are some hard things going on. And I'm having these really beautiful connections with people and invitations of people that want to celebrate and take me out to eat. I actually needed to take a day or two to just stop having social connections because I felt so incredibly overstimulated. It was wonderful, but it was my nervous system needed a little bit of a break. So today is pretty much my day off. The other thing that's really interesting, well, I want to tell you the new podcast is out. It's called Unapologetically ADHD, AUDHD, with my co-host Alex McLaughlin. It is on Spotify and Apple iTunes right now. We're trying to get it. It should be on the YouTube channel by the name Unapologetically ADHD. I also have the episodes loaded on my podcast at unapologeticallysensitive.com. If you go to the podcast page, there's a tab for the new podcast and this one. And it's interesting that there was some conflict over time agnosia. That's really what it is. When we were all waiting to leave for the yacht club on Wednesday, and one person has a different relationship with time, a different orientation to time. And this activated something for one of the other members. And it just was interesting to watch it unfold. And I'm in charge of loading the episodes up and releasing them. And so Alex and I I feel like I'm fumbling with my words because I am. Alex and I had recorded episode 2. We have episode 012 a few weeks ago, and I released it last night. And so I was listening to it, and we were talking about a lot of the things that happened in this thing of waiting for somebody to arrive here to carpool together and the reaction of somebody else. And Alex and I had a similar experience, and we had talked about in episode 2 how Alex and I manage our different orientation to time. And in that episode, while we're recording, I got a notification that I had a client and I had totally forgotten, which was very appropriate. This is just how stuff shows up for us. So I shared with a few of the people that were present on Wednesday night. I said, hey, I was just listening to this last night and wondered if it would be helpful, because I think that episode has so much compassion around what it's like for the person who may have feelings about somebody not showing up at the time that they say that they're going to, and feelings for the person who really wants to show up on time or do the things that they say that they want to do. And it just is very hard. And this is what neurodivergence is. There can be a lot of ableism in that idea of, if my belief is, and this is not my belief, if I can show up on time, then you're just not prioritizing. And so you're not showing up on time. And if only it were that simple, and it is not. And I just think it's a beautiful episode. I'm actually really proud of the podcast and how it's going. I think I keep saying this, but for sure now I think I am going to go down to every other week, and then we're going to release the Unapologetically ADHD episode every other week. And maybe what I can do is have it released on the same day. We haven't agreed on that yet. But that way you would be getting an episode every week. It just would be an alternating one. My friend on my birthday had asked what I wanted to create more of in this next year. And I had said, I feel like it's creativity, because I have all these projects and things that I've started, and I just don't seem very interested in doing them. And she asked me, like, do you want to do them? It's like, no, but I want to do them. And what I'm really interested in right now is animals. That's really what my interest is. I'm enjoying working with the horses. I think I shared this before, but my challenge is going to be working with the horses that are a little bit more headstrong, a little bit more sassy. My style is kind of like to gently go like, okay, let's go, and to have them follow. And some of the horses, some of the time, are like that, but it's the horses that are bigger, and they need someone to set a boundary to say, this is what we're going to do. And when we get the horses, it's important to do that, especially for a lesson, because the horses know who's a soft touch and who's not. So that's one of the things, and just learning more about the horses. I did get to be a horse leader for the first time on last Saturday, and it was really a positive experience. I made a couple mistakes. I'm practicing not apologizing when I get feedback. I really want to be in a place where I can go, thank you for letting me know, as opposed to I'm sorry. I heard a friend of mine was saying that when we do people pleasing, it's really a form of self-abandonment. And that really makes sense to me. That resonated for me, that when we people please, we kind of put somebody else's needs in front of ours and we abandon ourselves. I really appreciated that. I wanted to apply to the Humane Society, but for the month of July, they're not taking volunteers. The first couple shifts, you have to work with people. I really just want to spend time with the animals. And I am signed up to do another puppy party. But I feel like where my heart is right now is I really want to spend time with animals. We are not going to be able to foster for two reasons. My husband is opposed. We basically have 3 dogs, my mom's dog and our dogs. And Maisie is just a little too high strung to be able to have a foster dog. But I think really what I want this year is just more time with animals. I'm really enjoying it. It's where my interest is, and I have to trust the hobbies will come up and we'll just see. And just to find a little chit chat note, Pat, who I used to kayak with, had some surgery and we haven't connected in a while. And when he found out it was my birthday, he told me that I could come out and paddleboard tentatively. And I just have this love-hate relationship with paddleboarding. I went once, and at the yacht club, one of the women loves paddleboarding. Either it's just not my thing, which is possible, or I just have to do it enough to stop being nervous. And because I tend to be so nervous about things, part of me wants to just push through and see if I can get comfortable with it and then decide if it's something that I like or not. As it turns out, he wasn't able to meet to paddleboard. I was actually relieved. And I really do want to get back in my boat and start kayaking. But I think that's pretty much all I have. I am going to do a brief little thing at the end, but I just feel like I'm sucking at it these days. And that just has to be okay. If you are interested in working with me, I can be reached at unapologeticallysensitive.com. If you want to send an email, you can reach me at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. I love working with therapists. I love doing work on relationships, parenting. If you suspect that you're neurodivergent, if you know you're neurodivergent, boundaries, communication, those are really the things that I excel at. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's how your brain is wired. You're not for everybody. Everybody's not for you. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be lonely. It's okay to feel connected. It's okay to have mixed and confused feelings. It's okay to feel joy. It's okay to rest. It's okay to not get all of your stuff done. It's okay to be productive. It's okay to be social. It's okay to not be social. It's okay to be you exactly who you are. Have a blessed day.